The introduction is the most important part of your college application. Your reader's first impression can either make or break your college application. A college admissions officer goes through over 30 applications per day and thousands per year. So think about that. Admissions officers look for any reason to discontinue reading and to move on to the next application because they have a stack of applications on their desk. And so they're going through them really, really quick. So a weak introduction, guys, is a clear indicator of an undeveloped essay. If you want to get into your dream school, don't blow it early in the game. Okay, so we've read and reread your college essay prompt. You've come up with a potential thesis. You kind of know what you want to talk about, and now you're staring at a blank document going, okay, where do I begin? Do I just blunt out my thesis at the beginning, or do I lay out all my cards on the table? Do I save the thesis to surprise later in the paper? Or should I just turn off my computer and say, I'm going to write my essay another day? Well, don't do that. We're going to go over and give you some tips on how to write your introductory paragraph. A quick, easy guide, if you will. So the makings of an introductory paragraph. Think of your introductory paragraph as an upside down triangle. You want to begin with the general statement or broad idea. And from there, you want to hone in on certain details and gradually get more specific until ultimately you conclude with the thesis statement. So not at the end of your essay, but the end of your introduction paragraph. So it's important you keep your introduction short. Ideally, your introduction should be 2 to 4 sentences. So your introduction paragraph should only be maybe 2 to 4 sentences, and then you should have a thesis statement. So let's talk about that first sentence. Your first sentence, it needs to be snappy, right? It's got to grab the reader's attention. Therefore, it must immediately be interesting. It must be clear. It must be succinct. So use less than 25 words on your first sentence. You might even want to aim to 10 to 15 words. You do not want to discourage your audience from reading more by presenting them with a boring or convoluted or wordy sentence. So let me give you an example. I'm going to read a sentence of an introductory statement that is just too wordy. When I first started playing chess, I never expected that I could become so fascinated with one game and that years down the road it would be one of the most important aspects of my life, compelling me to spend hours studying openings, developments, and in-game strategies. So do you see how that was very indirect and rambling? It was difficult to tell the details. It really didn't grab your attention. It probably didn't keep the reader very happy. Now let's move on to another sentence that's very similar but is very snappy. There are more possible ways to play a 40-move game of chess than there are electrons in our universe. Wow. That's an interesting fact. Makes the reader think about that a little bit. Makes them go, that's an interesting concept. I didn't know that. Let me read more. What are they trying to talk about? So it's 25 words or less. I mean, it's very short, very direct. It introduces an idea about chess. It provides some trivia. It introduces the reader so that he or she knows the concepts of what the main point of the essay is all about. So that is a really good first statement or first sentence, if you will. So let's talk about that first statement, that introductory statement. You want to hook the reader, and there are 3 ways you can do that. So what do I mean by hook the reader? Well, the hook is an element on your introduction that captures the reader's attention. You can make the first sentence your hook, or you can use the first sentence to lead into the hook. It's really up to you. So here are some methods that you can use to hook the reader. So method number 1 is you can have a startling or intriguing information, just like we read in that last sentence. So you can hook the reader by presenting some information that is startling, thought-provoking, provocative. It can be an intriguing fact, just like chess. It can be an interesting tidbit about yourself. It can be even a hypothetical idea. You choose. It doesn't really matter. So let me give an example. Here's a hook using a startling or intriguing information. There are only 5 known cases of my disorder in the world. Wow. That grabs my attention immediately, going, huh, there are only 5. Well, what is yours, right? It makes me want to read more about this author. It's not too revealing, right? To learn more about this person or more about this essay, you have to continue reading. So the reader continually or gradually reveals information about him or herself, leaving the reader curious to want to read more. All right, let's try another one. I have been to 49 different countries in my life. That's a really good one as well. Why? Because 49 countries is a lot of countries, number one. So someone is reading that and goes, wow, 49 countries. How in the world can you have traveled to 49 countries? So it tells the reader, hey, you got something intriguing here. You've been to a lot of different places. You might know something. You're bringing something to the table that's a little bit different. You have something unique going on here. So the reader's curious. They want to read more. So again, try to think of something that sparks your reader's curiosity. Sentence to provoke questions or reveal something about you. So that's number 1, startling or intriguing information. Let's move on to tidbit number 2 of your hook. You can use a story. So a story can be a great hook. So by telling your reader a story, you can personalize it. You can talk about a movie plot. You can make up a story. It can be an anecdote. It does not matter as long as it's both relevant to your thesis and it's interesting. So this approach is very, very popular. So let me give you an example of what I mean here. I'm going to read this from the first introductory paragraph of an essay. When I was 14, my father asked me to name the mightiest animal in the jungle. At first, I said a lion, but he only shook his head and said that lions are hunted by men with guns and spears. Later, my father was shot and hospitalized, a travesty that had brought me to my next assumption, that the mightiest animal was the gun. I lived fearing, hypothesizing, and revisiting, but today I have a different answer. The mightiest animal in the jungle is the man. Wow, what a neat story, huh? So it uses a personal story, an anecdote, all in one. It introduces the importance of the author's father, and that's probably going to be a theme of the essay. Also, maybe talking about his father and how he was shot, how they got over it. Who knows where this story is going to go, but I'm curious to read more, and that's what it's all about. So you can also use a story or an anecdote. So let's talk about number 3 to get your hook. Number 3, you can also use a blanket statement, right? A blanket statement is a clear and indisputable statement with which the reader is likely to agree. This option should be used with caution, though, because it is often difficult to draw a reader into this type of statement. So, for example, a college admission process can be one of the most arduous components of a young man's life. That is a very broad statement. Even if the reader agrees with you, which he or she may not, there's really nothing unique or extraordinary about the sentence. It's not gripping. It doesn't make you want to read more. So these types of introductions can get the reader to sympathize with you or maybe even agree with you, but it's not my favorite, right? So I would actually use something like a story, an anecdote, or maybe even a startling or intriguing information. Okay. Ultimately, you want to try to reel them in. No matter how you choose your introductory statement or your introductory paragraph on your essays, make sure that you explain its significance. If you use a story, highlight the relevant details, the moral of the story that supports your thesis. So when you're writing your thesis, you want to make it specific, you want to make it clear. What are you trying to talk about in this essay? Your thesis should be an interpretation, not a statement of fact, that gives your opinion on a specific subject relating to the prompt. So, structure, summary. Keep your introductory sentence under 25 words. Aim for 10 to 15. Do not use compound sentences. Do not use sentences combining and, or but. That's just way too long. Do not start with a prepositional phrase. That just doesn't work real well, and it makes the sentences very long. Keep it short, as I mentioned. That first introductory paragraph, 2 to 4 sentences, and then your thesis. And then conclude your introductory with your thesis. So 2 to 4 sentences, then your thesis. So let's go over a quick overview. What are your do's and don'ts? Do address the topic outlined in the prompt. You have to answer the prompt. The first thing you have to do is the college is going to look at your essay and go, did they answer the prompt? The prompt is not meant to be a springboard to your essay. You want to have a voice. You want to have an opinion, right? You're not expected to be a politician. You're not expected to be unbiased. You want to show your honesty and wit. All right, you want to connect the ideas. You want to make an impression. You want to use a hook and save your thesis to the end of the introduction. Now let's talk about the don'ts. Don't repeat the prompt. Do not use the first sentence of the prompt as your first sentence of your essay. No, 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 no. Do not include any material that can be found in everyone's paper, such as, I really want to get into this school because X, or I am hardworking and a quick learner. You don't need to do that. Colleges don't want to read about that. Number 2, don't make excuses. Don't apologize. Do not mention that you are not an expert or that your opinion doesn't matter. The purpose of your essay is to improve your own credibility. Do not make any spelling or grammatical errors. So make sure you have someone review your essay. And don't brag. Now, you certainly can brag at other places. Maybe even in your interview, you might want to be a little bit more braggadocious, but not in your essay. You want to just reveal your strengths, not brag about your strengths. So don't say, I am really smart and talented. Colleges don't want to read that. Show them. Show them through your stories, through your ideas, through your passions. Do not tell them.